It has been more than 20 years since Triple H first competed in a WWE ring, and the man who began his career with the company as the Connecticut Blue Blood has come a long way in that time. Recognized today as the on-screen chief operating officer of WWE, the game wields considerable power which is amassed through his journey from snob to degenerate to franchise player to cerebral assassin. That said though, the King of Kings has shown time after time that he'll stop at nothing to destroy an opponent, pushing past the boundaries of traditional wrestling physicality on multiple occasions. Sometimes he resorts to excessive force, while in extreme cases his intent borders on the murderous. While demons like The Undertaker and Kane have spent their careers burying opponents alive and setting them on fire, Triple H has slowly been racking up an attempted body count all of his own. I mean, it's okay, it is wrestling, but there are instances in which the COO tried to blatantly murder somebody on WWE's weekly TV show, which, you know, is supposed to be PG. Anyway, Your Honor, the prosecution calls Adam Cleary, and this is every time Triple H attempted murder. Number 8, slamming Shawn Michaels' face through a car window. Raw 2002. When Shawn Michaels returned to WWE after a 4-year injury-induced hiatus, his best friend Triple H was the company's top dog. That was okay with HBK, but Trips felt threatened. After he pedigreed Michaels on Raw, the two seemed to make amends, but soon afterwards a bloodied HBK was found in the parking garage. Someone had rammed his face into a car window and left him for dead. Despite their bad blood, Triple H bristled at the mere suggestion he was responsible, even delivering a hearty profanity to Eric Bischoff when the Raw GM suggested as much, and then went on the hunt for the party responsible himself. Of course, a recovering Michaels soon unveiled enhanced security camera footage which showed that it was, in fact, yes, his best friend who'd done the deed. Triple H and Shawn Michaels feuded for much of the next few years before finally putting their differences aside to reform D-Generation X. Basically, if you want to be friends with him, attempted murder is just something you have to learn to live with. Number 7, backdropping Cactus Jack through a cell. No Way Out 2000. Now, to be fair, when one participates in a Hell in a Cell match with Mick Foley, one has to have few qualms when it comes to delivering or receiving a lot of punishment. With Foley's career and his own WWE Championship on the line though, Trips pushed past established barriers of mercy to retain his gold. Earlier in the match, he had knocked Foley off the side of the cage, sending him crashing through an announcer's table. That would have been enough to take down your average bear, but no, Foley, who managed to recover from the bump, would then take a death blow in the bout's conclusion. Attempting to deliver a pile driver to the game on top of the steel cage, Trips reversed the move into a backdrop and Foley crashed through the roof down into the ring, breaking the boards under the canvas and lying in a hole, motionless. Number 6, hitting people with his sledgehammer. For the past 16 or so years, Triple H's weapon of choice has been a sledgehammer. While other superstars have been content to use steel chairs and the like to hurt their opponents or cheat their way to victory, the game clearly prefers to take a more dangerous, potentially life-threatening approach. Now, funny story, the company initially had him use a rubber sledgehammer. This led to several unrealistic situations where Triple H would deliver blows to his opponents that they couldn't possibly survive in a legitimate sense. But then, even funnier story, after he accidentally concussed The Undertaker with the fake sledgehammer, WWE's higher-ups decided it would just be easier if he dished out worked shots with a real hammer. Since then, he's just sort of cupped his hand around the head of the thing before driving it into an opponent's face or gut. Worked blow or not though, hitting someone in the skull with a sledgehammer is a pretty good way to send them to the goddamn morgue. I mean, here is a visual representation of me doing just that to Adam Wilborn repeatedly, and yes, hang on, let's take a quick pulse here, and yes, he's absolutely dead. Press F to pay respects. Number 5, brutalizing a handcuffed Daniel Bryan. Raw 2014. In the lead-up to WrestleMania Kiss Kiss Kiss, Daniel Bryan had become a thorn in Triple H's side. Though the game's BFFs for life Randy Orton and Batista were scheduled to battle in the show's main event for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, Bryan and the fans would not rest until he was inserted into the match. Finally, Trips agreed, telling Bryan that the two men would battle themselves at the show, with the winner being inserted into the main event. Triple H, though, wasn't done there. He had to make Bryan's life as miserable as humanly humanly possible first, and 3 weeks away from the show, Trips pulled one of the most vicious tricks ever. It initially appeared that Stephanie McMahon had a rampaging Bryan arrested, but it turned out to all be a ruse. Also that her husband could attack him while he was still in handcuffs. He beat Bryan at ringside, chucked him around like an empty tracksuit, and finally punctuated the assault by slamming a steel chair into his head. Now yes, wrestler, steel chair head, not really a big deal, but at the time, Bryan's skull was pressed against the ring post. Attempted murder does not get much more blatant. Number 4, ripping Batista's piercing out of his face. WrestleMania 35. Yeah, there might be an element of recency bias to this, seeing as I did have to sit there in the MetLife and watch him literally do this, but Trips taking some pliers to Big Dave's nose was absolutely rank. Now, yes, the spot might not have been worked perfectly, and yes, it is pretty easy to spot exactly when A, the ref hands him the dummy ring, and B, Batista rolls away to remove his own, but regardless, it looked absolutely brutal. And you might think I'm stretching the definition of attempted murder here purely to accommodate a good thumbnail for the YouTube upload, and, well, you'd be right, but I'm also relatively confident that if you legit started ripping metal bolts out of people's skin, you could do some lasting damage. There is the potential for shock, for sepsis, for infection, for gangrene, and I guess death? Look, I'm not a doctor here, but anyone saying this couldn't kill you in the comments has to first have it done to them to actually prove that. I don't make the rules, sorry. Number 3, invading Randy Orton's home and throwing him through a window. Raw 2009. In the build-up to WrestleMania Kiss Kiss the feud between WWE Champion Triple H and Royal Rumble winner Randy Orton got extremely personal. First, Orton punted Vinnie Mac in the head, and then, in a particularly disturbing Raw segment, he kissed and DDT'd an unconscious Stephanie McMahon. That forced a steaming Triple H, and by steaming I mean he was just handcuffed to the ropes getting really angry about it, not that he'd necked 2 liters of cider on the way down the ramp, to admit to his real-life marriage to Stephanie and vow revenge on Orton. Said revenge came during a sit-down interview with the Viper at his own home. With his wife, in this case actually an actress, by his side, Orton answered questions about his upcoming showdown with Triple H. And then the doorbell rang. The cerebral assassin himself had arrived and, like a slasher movie murderer, proceeded to stalk a retreating Orton all over his home, intent on delivering a deadly beating. Eventually, Trips cornered him and attacked, throwing him through a window and out onto the front lawn. At that point, the police mercifully intervened, arresting Triple H before he could continue the assault and presumably murder Orton. Number 2, killing careers. Yes, admittedly this one is a little abstract, but would a list of times Triple H attempted murder be complete without a look at the careers he's killed along the way? Not for me to say, except for the fact that it is because it's my list, so no, let's do it. In the early part of the 2000s, Triple H, whose backstage power rose rapidly as he courted and then started doing the old greased weasel tango with Stephanie McMahon, seemed to get paranoid and insecure, doing his level best to dispose of any perceived threats to his domination of the company. Rob Van Dam, Booker T, Kane, and Jeff Hardy all allegedly felt the wrath of Triple H in the early days of the brand split. And even superstars that he allegedly put over, like Goldberg and Chris Benoit, found themselves playing second fiddle to the game before long. Trips would turn face in the ring in 2006, and then again for real life when he started running NXT, but that didn't stop his reign of terror, as both The Legacy and CM Punk have regularly attested. Number 1, masterminding the vehicular assault of Stone Cold Steve Austin. Survivor Series 1999. Yes, Survivor Series 1999 was supposed to play host to the biggest triple threat match in WWE history, as the company's 3 most popular stars, Austin, Rock, and Triple H, were set to battle for the WWE Championship. During the show, however, Austin was lured out to the parking lot and, shock and awe, run over by a car. He would miss nearly a year of action, and when he returned, he was set on finding the responsible party. It turned out that Rikishi, yes, Rikishi, the lovable, affable, thong-wearing Samoan mid-carder, was in fact the driver. Claiming that he took Austin out to help The Rock's career progress, Rikishi initially took full responsibility. Needless to say, though, Austin was hell-bent on destroying the former Intercontinental Champion. He stalked the big lad at every turn and eventually found out that he'd had an accomplice in the attack. Then, during a match on Raw, a recently turned face Triple H attacked Austin and revealed that he was not just Rikishi's cohort, but the mastermind of the entire attack. Ooh. Ooh, ah. An enraged Austin then targeted Triple H, finally clashing with him at Survivor Series 2000. During the match, Trips fled to the parking lot and hid in a car, which Austin then promptly lifted up in a crane and dropped on the pavement. Now, you might think that one sounds more like the attempted murder, but Trips only missed 8 days of action, though, because, well, nobody beats the game at his own... well, you get the idea. So there you have it, those are all the times the cerebral assassin attempted murder in WWE, coincidentally read out by WhatCulture's very own Triple H, but only because I can do the water spraying thing out of my mouth. Anyway, let me know what you made of it all in the comments below, and of course don't forget to like, share and subscribe. But in the meantime though, thank you so much for watching. I've been Adam Cleary, and I'll play you soon. Bye.